Happy New Year! Okay, you know what? I think I'm getting a little... Hi guys, Dom here, and welcome back to my little slice of art channel. I guess you can call it that. Today is going to be an art video and not a makeup one, but this one is going to be about inking and some tips and tricks that I've learned from my tattoo artists, some from my teachers, or some just from practice. So please like and subscribe and give it a thumbs up. If you have any extra tips to add, go ahead and leave a tip in the comments. I'd really appreciate any type of feedback, and thank you so very much for watching, and goodbye till later. Why can you only see my boobies? Okay, I'm at a weird angle, guys, but just bear with me. Okay, so when you're inking, you want to have your markers nearby, obviously. So I'm using fine liner graphics markers. And did I tell you what pinpoint it is? Okay, so on the top lid, I'm not sure if you can see that, it'll say things like brush or 0.4 or 0.8 or 0.2. Those are the size of the markers, and you just want to kind of have them handy. If you don't remember them based off the number, you know, as the number get larger, so does the marker tip. So I drew this weird little dorky little robot, and we are going to ink this. Now what I typically do is I'll go in with a smaller tip, but for the sake of doing this kind of fast, I'll go in with a bigger one. And I'll just ink it. If I want to color it in, I will. I usually wait to the end, but with these eyeballs, I think they need to be dark. For the hair, because, you know, it's a weird robot with hair, we're going to use a thinner tip. This is the 0.2, and just ink it in. It's more of a freestyle type of hair. I wanted it to look like it's there, but it's straggly. So in the outline, I did the penciling, but when I'm inking it, I'm just kind of going with the flow of the pencil that I've already made. And when I'm inking a picture, I tend to go from the top to the bottom. Some people rotate around the page. You can do that. I've learned from inking though, when I do that, because I tend to ink pretty huge, I lean on the picture and rub, and then I get either the graphite from the pencil on my hand or ink all over my hand. But then my picture is ruined. So just be mindful of that. I only learned this technique because of my tattoo artist, and he said, you know, well, think of it as a tattoo, and you don't want to necessarily cover up what you're doing, and you don't want to, you know, have a mistake in there. You want to take your time and go from whatever area you're going from. So I usually do the top to the bottom. I'm gonna try to ink this kind of fast just for the sake of it being just an inking video. I don't have that many I guess ideas to share, just the basic ones. I mean, that face isn't perfect, but you know, who cares. I guess I could use this robot for my comic book. And my comic book is going to be about these kids who have to save their family and ultimately the world, and it's gonna be awesome. It's a brother-sister duo, but the main character is the sister, you know, because girls rock, and I'm supposed to be the sister, of course. But I don't know, like, I don't know how you guys feel about inking, but I absolutely love it, even though it's kind of like do or die. There's like whiteout tips that you can use to ink, and sometimes I go by those, and then sometimes I'm like, well, if I mess up, I just kind of mess up and try to cover it up or make a line bigger. That just really depends on you as an artist on how you want to fix it. Some people even go into Photoshop and fix their line drawings, which is cool, but I'm like, I want to be able to do it hand. I mean, which is also cool, so there you go. And like that line's not completely straight, but it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect either. The more you press down, like I did for her arm, the deeper the ink line will get, so just be mindful of that. So if you want to make it a little thinner, even if you're using a deeper tip, go light on it so that it'll come out lighter. So like that line's not as bold. Doesn't look like it's a difference, but off camera you can definitely see the different strokes that are being used with each different pressure amount and the inking that you're doing. Now I think I'm gonna use, what is this, the brush. I'll take a risk with this one because I wanted these lines to stand out a little bit more. She's supposed to be holding like some sort of weird ass ray gun, but it might not come off like that. Again, this is just practice, so there you go. I always tend to go for like a 0.8 inking, and it's kind of like a bigger pen, but it's not as big as you could go like with the brush, because for me, I like the inkings to be a little bit on the dark side or heavier inking side. If I have something smaller to ink like this, I'll use a smaller tip, but for now we're gonna go with the deeper inking. That sounds kind of crazy. Ink, 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 ink. And then if you're unsure about making a shape really, really smooth, you can rotate your page. I'm not rotating it because I'm trying to show you this on camera, but you can actually just rotate your page, or if you're drawing like a straight line, start from the bottom and then move your way up, or even move your hand along slowly. Some people just rotate the page, which is a hell of a lot easier, but you don't want to smear. And if you have unsteady hands, then you just want to take your line slow. Don't do it to where you'll jam up your hand. And if for some reason you feel like you won't be able to create the line, stop and then just go back over it again. That's all in preference, but that usually helps me when I'm creating a super thin line that has to be crazy amount of straight. Oh, brush. So that's usually helpful with me. Another thing too, she's supposed to be metal. I noticed that if you reinforce the sideline, it will give a shine effect whether you color the line in or not. So like these lines are not colored in, but just by me accentuating the side, it looks like it's a different material. It's not just flat. So you can do this when you're creating different textures in your drawing, but make sure not to overdo it, because then it just looks like you didn't know what you were doing. And be mindful of where you want your light to hit on your picture. So that's just my advice from it. You'll notice too in a lot of anime they do this and make the character look shiny even if they're wearing a bathing suit. I mean, that's fine, but you know, there's a line for that, guys, you know? So just be mindful of that when you're creating stuff like this. I don't know what she's holding. I guess it's like a weird ray gun. I didn't even know how I drew her hand. The thumb should really be over here. So we'll just draw it like that. And sometimes too, if you're having trouble drawing something, like a character is supposed to be holding something, hold it in your hand and look in the mirror, or like I'm doing in the viewfinder, just to see if, you know, you're drawing it properly. In this case, I'm not. I'm kind of unsure. So what I'll do is I'll go get my pencil to see if it makes any sense when I actually draw it. And since it does, I usually just draw over my mistake and then erase it because it's pencil, which is why drawing or outlining in pencil first is oh so helpful. But you'll get so good at practicing with ink that you should be able to draw this without having to use the outline. I recently had to take a class where I had to do that. It was 3 minutes, 7 minutes, 20-minute drawings. You could not erase, you could not use an outline. You just had to draw and hope for the best. It makes you focus on how you're drawing and plan ahead what you want your drawings to look like. I mean, I really liked that class. That teacher was cool, but man, there is nothing easy about doing that at all. Like, even with her foot right here, it's like, why did I do that? That looks crazy. So I'm gonna go back in and do the pencil. It looks like she has on 2 different shoes, so we'll just make it thinner, and then we'll make her foot kind of pointy with the point of the boot, just so you can get a front view. And experiment with foreshadowing too. A lot of comic book characters are not foreshadowing, foreshortened. Can I speak? So like her hand is foreshortened because clearly it's not out in front of her just by the way it's drawn. You're giving the illusion that it's out in front of her. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, so what I did was I used the brush pen and just went over certain parts that I wanted highlighted. Like this foot is supposed to be forward, so I did a darker line with that, and I also added little detailing so that you know, as far as shading goes, that she is not human. She's clearly a robot, and however much detail you want to add, you can do that. You can also add let's see if you can see in the corner, like some sort of cross hatching. If you don't want to shade it in with these shadings, you can add cross hatching to add light and shadow. So also you can use this to put things on the character, which is what some comic book artists usually do, but since she's a robot, I just wanted to add the bold lines versus the cross hatching, because I think the cross hatching works better on a human, unless you're going for that type of style throughout regardless. But yeah, so this is my drawing. If anybody has any cool ideas, let me know. But this is just my take on how to do a simple and quick ink drawing. Thanks again.